Welcome to the West Indian Women Network. I am Priscilla Ramcharan here in the United States in freezing Pennsylvania. It is 16 degrees Fahrenheit, but we always turn up the heat with our Trinidadian guests. So I am so excited for our next guest today. I definitely searched far and wide to find her. So she's here to join us and she will introduce herself, tell us where she's from and where she is. So welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Priscilla. I really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
I like when people search far and wide for me.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Krystal Sital. I am Trinidadian born, and I moved to New Jersey when I was 12 years old. I'm a writer. I'm also a teacher. I teach in a MFA creative writing program. Currently, it's interesting. I live on the East Coast, but I teach on the West Coast. It's low residency, so I do that. I do a lot of freelance writing, and I'm a mother of three, rapidly growing, beautiful children. And that's where I am in life right now.
Well, congratulations to you and thank you for being here. We are here to talk about your book, Secrets We Kept: Three Women of Trinidad. Well, let me just tell you all that from page one, from the first word, this was a page turner for me. I couldn't put it down. As soon as I woke up, it was the first thing I grabbed in the morning. It took my weekends because I have a busy schedule, but the fact that this was my first book of the new year, that is
Of the
awesome.
new year, that I did not know. That I didn't know.
Yes, yes, I was so excited. So, Crystal, my dear, what was your inspiration for writing this book?
So the inspiration are the two other women in the title. I'm one of the three, and the other, it's my grandmother and my mom. They would tell me, and as I'm sure a lot of women know, young girls, women know, growing up in the Caribbean and when you grow up in Trinidad, it's a lot of oral storytelling. You're doing laundry, they're telling you stories. You're
Hmm.
eating food, they're telling you stories. The thing is that nobody ever wrote these stories down. And I always loved writing. I was recently writing about this. I was applying for a fellowship or something like that. And we have to write an artist statement, right? And I'm so sorry, excuse me. I
Don't
was going
worry.
through these old copybooks from Trinidad that I brought over with me eventually when I went back. And I'm flipping through physics, all these sciences and math and stuff. And right smack dab in the middle of these books are stories that I just started randomly writing because I'm daydreaming in the middle of these classes. I always knew I wanted to be a writer. I always loved writing, but it's not something that you say out loud when you're growing up in Trinidad. It's not something you should aspire to. It's you have other things that your parents tell you should aspire to, right?
Right.
And so I took these stories that these women were telling me because they were so powerful and they were so moving, and I didn't find nonfiction writing like that in the Caribbean. I didn't have somebody to turn to. I didn't have a template from Trinidad to look for. And I ended up writing these stories. I really did start writing them as fiction because I
Hmm.
didn't know what else to do with them. And then I stumbled into a memoir writing class. And then from there it was history.
Ooh, you did an amazing, amazing job. Everything connected. I'm in the middle of a scene and then you have something about what happened earlier, and then I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So the way you connected everything was just perfect for me.
And that's hard though, right? That's hard
You're
because if you're
right.
making sense of real life, it's not, it's so much easier if I made a fiction. I could
Right.
really make it work for me like that. But trying to make sense of real life in story form I will say that was a bit challenging.
I can only imagine. I mean, wow. I say, you wrote this book, but that's such a simple sentence. It's like you created art with your words.
That is what we have to do, right? That is our
Right. Oh
job.
my goodness. I'm just so excited. One of the questions that came to me was, how did you or would you imagine the reader as they're reading your work? What did you want them to take away from your story?
So this question is very interesting because I find my readers, I envision different types of readers. So I already had children by the time all three of my children were born by the time the book made its way into people's hands.
Hmm.
So I did think of that along the way. When my children grow up, what are their reactions going to be knowing this is their family history that other people now read, right?
Hmm.
And I'm managing that, and for them, I just want them to know the truth. I want them to know the truth of the women in their family and how they got to be where they are today, because that's how I was viewing the story as I was writing it. And then I have the readers who, are they Caribbean readers or are they my American readers? I was juggling all these different people in my head because it's because of the language that I wanted to put on the page, how Trinidadians speak, and I
Right.
wanted to really capture that. And I couldn't take that away because it was their story and it was their oral stories. So I really wanted to preserve that. So in terms of thinking of Trinidadians reading it, Caribbean people reading it, I wanted it to feel familiar.
Right.
You're just falling into the language. You're falling into that beautiful like lilt, the way that we speak, right? And you feel like like your background, like the waves are just falling over you, right? And then for non-Caribbean readers, I really wanted it to be fun. I wanted them to actually try to say it out loud.
Absolutely.
I did think about it a lot.
Well, that's a fabulous response because I totally fell right in. And there were moments where your mom was reflecting and then she would say, Krystal, and that's what my mother would say.
That's her thing.
And
That's her
you're
thing.
right. So I'm walking around, after I have to take a break to go do something. And in my mind, I'm just hearing, and Krystal, and like the story's going with me. So it was really, really motivational as well in terms of how you structured the conversation, the dialogue, and just making sure that we as the reader are aware of, who's speaking, what's happening, what time frame that was. This is really lovely. Really lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
You know, that is something that irks me though, when you're
What?
reading a book and you
Uh-huh.
get a little lost along the way.
Right.
So I'm really glad to hear that.
Good, good. Yes, and I have more to say to you, but we don't want to spoiler everything. Thank you for answering my question. So, the next one is, did you experience writer's block, and what's your take on writer's block?
So this is, I think, an unpopular opinion. I don't believe in writer's block, and I'm sure writers will say it's because you've never experienced it before and that's why you don't believe in it. I don't know if maybe I just don't have time for writer's block
Mm,
because life is so full and so busy all of the time. Whatever time I get to write, I am just there. I'm present. I'm writing. So I did not experience writer's block at all when writing this book. I was very excited to sit down and to craft whatever pages I was working on at the moment, um, in order to, in order to, it's not that I had these interviews with my mom and my grandmother, but I could not structure them as professional interviews. I'm her daughter, I'm
okay.
her granddaughter. I tried to be journalistic about it because, you're embarking on this thing for the first time. You're the first in the family to go to college. There's a lot of things that's riding on this, right?
Right.
So I tried taping my mom once.
Oh,
It was the most bizarre experience of my entire life, okay?
oh gosh.
Because I said, okay, we're gonna do the interview like we've always done, okay, mom, like we've always done. And then I hit record, and then all of a sudden she's talking with an American accent. She's looking at the recorder, and I'm like, what's going on? What are you
Uh-huh.
doing right now? So I just had to let it flow, and it flowed around food. That's why the book is structured that way. So it flow stories really do come
Right.
around food. People's inhibitions are down. You feel more comfortable. And
Yeah.
so the stories just came around food all of the time. And I had to just let it go and not try to be some kind of fake journalist that I was trying to be and just let the story come naturally. That's really what I had to
Right.
do. Now,
Uh-huh.
remind me of your original question because I feel like I've strayed so, oh, it was about writer's block. It was about
Yeah,
writer's block. I remember. I
you're doing
remember.
good. You're doing good.
So I didn't experience any of that because I just so desperately, once we were done eating,
Right.
cooking, talking, I needed to go sequester myself in a room and write everything down so that I wouldn't
Right.
lose any of the information. So I've never had writer's block for other projects that I've worked on, whether it's essays or anything like that. I get stuck maybe on
Mhm.
a word or a sentence or an idea or the structure of something, but I'm there and I'm sitting and I'm just working out around it, right? I'm figuring out how to fix it,
Right.
but I've never been stuck.
Oh, that's really good. And that we say writer's block, but that's what it is playing around with the ideas, finding what works, and
But
actually
that's all
doing
part
the
of it.
work. Right. And
Yeah,
absolutely doing the work. And I love what you said, you just have to kind of let it flow. And as with all writing, you can't just sit there and be like, oh, this is what it's gonna be because it's gonna be stiff and boring.
right? Oh, every time I have done that, it's the worst. It's the worst. I just have to toss it eventually.
Right, right. No, really well said. Absolutely well said. So I know your time is precious and we made it here today. Thank you for answering my questions. Do you have a final message for our viewers?
So this is tough. Final message? No, I have so many messages for you guys.
For this recording. And we'll come back. We'll have you back later on.
I think you know what it is. Never stop reading. I
Hmm.
am meeting way too many people right now who don't read or
Mm,
kids who are not reading. Please just keep reading. I started reading to my children when they were 4 months old because I read that's when they could see something in front of them, right? And people laughed at me, okay? Because you have this baby, depending on where they are, bobbling their head around, right? Unable to focus. And I was like, no, 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 we're doing this.
hmm.
You are the child of a writer, and we are going to teach you to love reading. And
Hmm.
fast forward now, they're 12, 10, and 7, and all of them are avid readers. I mean, they cannot go a day without reading. Something feels wrong to them. And
Right.
when I look at that, I think, oh my God, I did something right. I mean, they consume books like food. It's amazing, right? You remember being younger and having all that time to read, and now we're older, and I will read every single day, whether it's a page
Yes.
or 30 or 100, but I must do the same thing because I'm modeling the behavior for them too,
Right.
right? But now I go into their classroom every once in a while to do a project or something. These kids are not reading. We got to read with them. We got to show them that we're
Yes.
reading. I think that's my message. Please don't give up on it. Keep reading. Read hard copies. Okay. I love sniffing a good book.
Oh,
So,
indeed. Indeed. Mm, absolutely. So you are so right about that. When we were expecting our first, baby shower, and you get little gifts, so we got Goodnight Moon. So I started just reading Good Night Moon, for and up until birth, and then I kept reading it. When she was finally able to talk, she was able to recite all of the words.
oh my
So
God.
I truly
I
believe in it. Absolutely.
I do
And
too.
she was the one who found your book for me at the library.
What's her name? What's her name?
Jade.
Oh, I love you, Jade.
Yes, you do. So, you know what? Your libraries are also there. Utilize them.
Yes. It's there
Awesome.
for a reason. I mean, that libraries were my savior when I moved to this country.
Tell who you telling? Yes, I remember when I discovered Newark Public Library downtown. Any chance I got, I would sneak off to go to the library to find the next good read. So
Oh my
for
gosh.
me
And
too, it was my
so
escape.
many books were available
Hmm.
where I lived in Trinidad, we didn't have that. Okay. Growing up, I didn't have that. So when I moved here and they told me I could take as many books as I
Uh-huh.
want. I couldn't believe it. I
I
go,
know.
this is all for free? Are you serious?
Yes. Now, were you the walking reader as well? Walking
Yes.
well, yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, we
I
have
walked
lots to talk
into I
about.
walked into a poll once,
Did you?
okay?
Oh no.
And people saw me and they never let me forget it.
Well, you were doing it for a good cause.
I just misjudged. I really thought I knew where it was.
Too funny. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to connect with you. Please do come back and share more about your work and your writing, and good luck with everything moving forward.
Thank you so much for having me. It really is a pleasure to be here with you.
You're most welcome. Awesome. Say bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.